Hey there, Cutie and Cosplay here with another video. Today's going to be another story time. I have no idea what number story time I'm on, but here you go, some more stories from my life just for you. Let's get into it. So my first story is going to be about this guy bugging me in a clothing store. This story happened when I was just barely out of high school, and it is important to note that I didn't have much money at the time. So one time I drove to this cheap little clothing store just to browse for fun, maybe pick up something cheap. But while I was looking at things, this guy approaches me. He was dressed decently, I think fairly nice clothes, not an expensive suit, but something dressed up, so that was kind of odd. And he had this little bag. I don't think it was a Sephora bag, but it was about the same size and sort of same style, stiff, tiny little paper bag. So he ends up offering it to me, and I see that it's a couple of fancier looking mascaras, kind of expensive, and he's like, "Oh, it's free, take it, it's free." At first I'm hesitant because barely anything comes free, that's really weird, why? And I'm not interested, but he ends up persisting, and eventually I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll take it, that sounds cool. After it's in my hands, he says, okay, that'll be $20, and my mind is like, what? What happened to free? Do we have different dictionary definitions? What? Of course, I'm young and spineless, so instead of rightfully asking him what happened to free, I slowly start to reach in my purse. But $20 is a lot for me at this point. I don't have a steady income. I'm just out of high school, like I said, so I kind of hesitate, and luckily I do get some spine, and I end up telling him, actually, no thanks, and I hand the bag back to him. He's still trying to, sort of make conversation. I think he was asking me some kind of odd personal questions, maybe even kind of location questions. I can't quite remember, but I just remember it was kind of odd. And he ends up saying, oh, you're beautiful. And unfortunately for me, when I'm embarrassed, stressed, just basically living life, my whole face just turns red. I wish that I had this cute, dainty blush, but it's just a complete chameleon color change, just ugh. And this was something that I was made fun of for in school, so huge insecurity. So he's saying that to me, and then I know that my face is just glowing red, and I am just thinking of what a disgusting little creature I look like and how uncomfortable this person is making me, and why would they say something like that, especially in a majority women's clothing store. It was just strange. I don't remember what I said to end the conversation, but I ended up running out of the store, and I just ended up sobbing in my car in the parking lot. Just being so just feeling so bad about myself, even though it was a compliment, but it didn't feel genuine and felt ulterior motives, not just a nice, here's a compliment, now go about your day, have a good one. I don't understand what was the point of saying something was free and then trying to get the money afterwards, or why you would be in a clothing store to do that. I don't know if you guys know of any kind of scam like that people do, but I've always been curious about why this happened. Alright, so this next story is getting left behind by my family and walking back home. So this fun little story is the story of how my family abandoned me in a semi-strange town to walk back alone in the dark. This takes place when I was still in high school. So sadly, to set this up, my family, they all got together because a family member had passed away, so it was a pretty big gathering. We were all staying at a family member's house, and one night we all went to dinner in the town that was close by. Luckily, there were past times where we would stay with this family member for vacations and we'd like ride bikes into town or something, so I was pretty, like, you know, somewhat familiar with the drive, the path, the area. Anyway, we have our dinner, this huge group of people, we're all about to leave, and I think, oh, like we're in town, we don't come here every day, I want to pop over to the store next door and like grab something that I need. And the family's like, okay, you'll be going in the car that is being driven by another family member's partner, so not who I had originally rode with. And so I guess this person was voluntold, and I'm wondering if that was like a big reason for this, was instead of asking like, hey person, you mind waiting a second, they're just like, okay, they'll take you. I go over to the store, I buy my thing quick, I was not just browsing for a long time, and I come outside to no one, no cars, no one that I know, they all left me. So this happened a few years ago, and when I'm thinking of this, I can't remember why I would not do the obvious thing and call someone to come back and get me, so here's some potentials that I thought of. Maybe I had poor cell service, because it's a very woodsy area, so that's possible. It's possible that I left my phone back at the house. It's not something I would usually do. And maybe the most likely one is that my phone was dead. Those are the only things I can think of. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Alright, so I see this. Everybody's gone. I just decide to start the long trek back. This is easily a 2.5 hour walk. It's very far and the sun had not quite set yet, but it was definitely working on it. You know, it was about dinner time, so I should have been scared, but honestly I was just pissed at all of them. I already didn't like that person's partner very much, and this was just nail in the coffin. So I walk through town, walk along the road, and finally I enter the path in the woods to get to the neighborhood and to the house. At this point the sun is almost gone, and I very much remember that there's just this little bit of light, and I remember bats were out and they were like flying overhead. I come out of the woods, walk through the neighborhood, and eventually in the dark I make it back. When I come in, I am livid with all of them for just leaving me. And I wish I could remember, but I am seriously hoping that I left my phone at the house or that it was dead, because I do not remember a call or a text. I don't think I was petty enough to ignore it if I got one, but I just don't remember ignoring a call, taking a call, seeing a text, writing a text. I don't remember any of that. So you know, it's just hours of this teenager missing in a somewhat strange area, and no one called, no attempts to look for me or drive back into town to find me. Seriously, just everyone made it back to the house and I was the only one unaccounted for. Eventually, I learned that the person that was voluntold got pissed about waiting and just sped off, but I swear this was not a long shopping trip. It was in and out in minutes for just one thing, but you know, everybody just, they ended up pointing fingers and like nothing was ever really resolved. There's just too many passive people on that side of my family that just kind of stand by and throw their hands up. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for grief really does mess with people big time, but my family just really failed me here. And yeah, I shouldn't have gone to the store, but I should have just stuck with dinner, but I'm a dumb kid, and like the adults should tell me not to go. They shouldn't just foist me onto someone that obviously didn't want to wait for me. They like didn't have a choice or weren't given a choice. And you know, it's stories like this that really solidifies my choice of kind of like distancing myself from many of them. But you know, I will say that I am lucky at least to have one side of my family be far better than the other. So And my last story is going to be about a cool nature encounter and how I got to feel like a wildlife photographer. It was a cool time. So I was really into photography in high school. I loved it. I have less opportunities to take pictures with my camera now, but when I am able to, I still really enjoy it. Anyway, here's a scene right out of like Planet Earth. One day my family and I, we were on vacation and we went to this like pool party thing that was right by a vineyard. At one point I see a snake and I take some pictures of him, and you know, before he heads off on his merry way. It was cool. And then fast forward to, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour or two later, and there's this huge hawk hanging out in the vineyard, and I take some pictures of him just sitting there, and eventually he swoops down, and who do I see him grab but the snake friend from before? He's got this sizable snake in his grip, and he keeps trying to fly away with it, but I think it's too big or too heavy for him. Like, he can only sort of hop with it. Eventually I think he gives up and perches nearby. I don't remember if the snake was still alive at this point, or if the hawk was just kind of like left it and was waiting for us to leave so that he could feel safe just having his snack right there. Anyway, I felt bad for the poor snake, but unfortunately that's how life goes. Some days you're the hawk, and some days you're the snake. But anyway, I do remember snapping my pictures and being so excited to witness this event, however gruesome it might have been. And at that point I had been considering like if I wanted to be a wildlife photographer. So a moment like that was really neat for me, not so much for poor Snake. And those are 3 more of my stories. Let me know in the comments if you have any stories similar to these 3, or any just little story you feel like sharing, anything like that. Yeah, I read all the comments and appreciate them all. So thank you guys so much, and thanks for watching. I hope that you have a great day and that I'll see you in the next video. Bye!